Yeah, Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Just coming back from Sydney, where I met my father and picked up a very cheap pizza oven for the wife. We're going to make some pizzas and have some fun. But I wanted to talk about just driving back up this beautiful highway. You'll see the mountains where they've chopped through the mountains just on the right there, and the trees on top of the mountains. It's an amazing highway, this highway actually. I wanted to talk to you about the idea that you're to love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your heart and with all your soul, and the impossibility of that, and how strength, just your strength, take the concept of just your strength, putting all your strength into loving the Lord your God with all your strength 24/7, you're not going to have anything left for anything else. Yet for some strange reason we grab hold of that concept and believe we can do it when we can't. The idea of Jesus making comments like, well, it wasn't Jesus himself, was it? It was in the Mosaic Law as well. But the concept of loving the Lord your God with all your strength, with all your mind, with all your heart, and with all your soul is so far beyond the capabilities of a human being to do. And that's the reason why it was put there, to show you, to have the sense, hopefully you'd have the sense to realize that you can't do that. Doesn't that tell you something about how much we take hold of religion and allow it to blind us in thinking that in some possible way you might be doing or are able to love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your heart and with all your soul? That's if you think you can do that, if you think you can love the Lord your God with all your mind, or Jehovah or Buddha or whoever your God is, with all your heart and with all your mind and with all your soul, then that's a warning sign for you to stop and say to yourself, am I looking at this the right way? Because nobody can love anything with all their strength and with all their mind and with all their heart and with all their soul. We have to, as human beings, in our limitedness, share our strength and share our mind and share our heart and share our soul. That's why Jesus died on the cross. In Galatians it says that the Bible was our tutor. It says that the Mosaic Law in Galatians was our tutor. So that by the time the Messiah came, and this is specifically directed to the Hebraic Christians of that time, so that by the time the Messiah came, they would say with thanks, thank God you've come. We don't have to live under this horrible, impossible law anymore. But the problem is what the law does, it empowers sin, it empowers the evil nature that's within us. But we don't want to accept that. But if you read Romans 7, and there's many other scriptures that'll show you this, that if you put yourself under anything you think you need to do or not to make God happy or stop him from being sad, you're empowering your evil nature. That's what the law was designed for. That's why when the people that were following God, the Pharisees and the Sadducees that genuinely loved God and wanted to do the right thing by him, when he came, they were so dominated by sin, so dominated by evil spirits because of the sin that they'd been feeding through the Mosaic Law. They didn't even recognize the Messiah when he turned up. They crucified him. The Mosaic law was given as part of God's plan to make sure the Messiah was put on the cross. God knew that the law was going to make the Jewish people evil. He knew that they weren't going to be able to keep it. Oh wow, there's somebody walking on the main highway here. Wow, I've never seen that before. God knew that the law was going to create an impossible situation for the people that he put it under. That's why his plan for Israel and the Jews is still alive today, separate to the church. And we can't stand it. Us Westerners come into Christianity and, oh, we're going to keep the law and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we just do not realize the damage and the harm that it's done to people over the millenniums that tried to keep it. Yes, some of the most successful people in the world, if not the majority of successful people in the world, are Jewish. But that can't be contributed to the Mosaic law because most communities and cultures are built on the same ethical principles for sociology to work. And we read those words that you're to love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your soul and with all your heart and with all your strength, and actually believe that we can do it. If I'm speaking to somebody now that's under the impression that they can love the Lord their God with all their mind and with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength, I'm asking you to just stop and consider how ridiculous that is, how mindless that is. Jesus came and died on the cross for all of us, God himself, because only God could fix it. Acts 20 verse 21 says that it was God's blood, which means Jesus was God, the Word become flesh. Jesus' blood was God's blood put on that altar once and for all, for time and eternity, never, ever to be done again. Never to be done again. Now there's a helicopter. Oh wow, I wish I could show you this, but we get in big trouble in Australia if we touch our mobile phones while we're driving. But there's a police helicopter up there. It's amazing. Wow. So it seems like a small incidental thing, doesn't it? To think, oh well, I thought I could love the Lord my God with all my mind and with all my heart and with all my soul. And some people actually believe that they're doing that. We may not see on the surface what's happening under the surface of people that think there is something they need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Speaking from hello Barefoot, I do want to ask, and I don't want to be impersonal, but just while you're there, I do want to ask you your real name, because you're going through that foundation course at such a rate. When you catch up to me at the end of the Doctrine of Baptisms, I'll start the Resurrection of the Dead, which is an absolute incredible series of studies. And isn't it interesting to think that the foundation course is actually something that is to help people not to be deceived, or at least to give them an idea on the basic foundations of Christianity, which a majority of people just do not know. That's why they're tossed to and fro. But nevertheless, when we think And this is the liberating message of what the New Testament's trying to say. There is nothing we need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. There's nothing. Let me put it to you like this. Christianity will tell you that you automatically have to accept Adam's sin. You automatically have to accept that you're a sinner because of what Adam's done. And it all starts from there. But what it does forget to tell you is, more so, by eternity to eternity, more so we are given the righteousness of God involuntarily through the finished work of the Lord Jesus Christ. So what happens then is the religion convinces you that there's things you need to do to work out your position in the righteousness that you already have. And that's where it all starts to come undone. It just all starts to come undone. There's nothing we need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad, because everything's been done for us in the finished work of the Lord Jesus Christ. So if you're somebody that thinks you have to love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength, I'm pleading with you today. I'm asking you to stop and consider how ridiculous that is for you to think that you could even do that. Jesus came to take away all of that, to take away all those requirements and things that were handwritten that for the Jews, not the Westerners, that they had to try and keep to impress, or at least show God that they cared about what he said. It was never going to work. It was a ministry of death. Excuse me. So I can't see the comments, and I've got to be very careful about connecting with the phone in the car, because in Australia they really do take it seriously. But I just want to say to you today, and I'm going to close in prayer, rest. Let it go. Rest on what Jesus has done. See, we don't understand even when Jesus was alive and the things that he said. A lot of the things that he said under the New Testament, under the Old Testament, beg my pardon. He said under the Old Testament as a Jew to the Jews. In Jesus' ministry, he said a lot of things, and I'm going to say this again, under the Old Testament as a Jew to the Jews. And us Westerners come along and we read it all and we get it all muddled up, and that's why things are the way they are. That's why there's so much sexual abuse in the Christian realm. That's why so many marriages that shouldn't fail in the Christian realm, because you've got good people wanting to do good, intending to do good, but think that there's something they need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad, and end up doing evil. That's how simple it is. It's a message that just isn't shared, because it runs contrary to what the church wants you to believe. They believe that this is how deluded the whole thing is. They believe there is something that you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad, and that a primary part of that is to turn up to the meetings. And if you're not turning up to the meetings, then they're going to cut you out. See, they say it's a family, and I believe that it's all genuine and stuff. But if you don't go to their meetings, right, and this is where Christianity is just as guilty of shunning as the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll forget you're even there. I've been in Christianity on the Central Coast here in New South Wales, Australia, for over 20 years. And I've had a broken arm and a shattered leg for the last 14 weeks. And the only people that made a conscious effort to come and see me, and this is embarrassing to say, this is really embarrassing to say, were the people that I hounded on the waterfront for years, the Jehovah Witnesses. Not only did they come up the hospital, they also come to the house and sat with me as well. And I was happy to make them a cup of tea, just on the premise that they made an effort to come and see somebody that was harmed. The only Christian that come to see me that was my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law. And I think she done it because for her, it was part of what you do as a Christian. All the builders, all the tradies, all the ones that are Christians never come near me. And that's embarrassing for me to say. That is really embarrassing for me to say. I had a couple of friends that aren't Christians or anything like that came, made an effort to come, and I'll never forget that. But for the Christians, I'm embarrassed. I'm genuinely and sincerely embarrassed that none of you had the sense or the compassion to come and just say, "You are right." And it's all because of this blindness that comes by thinking that you've got to put God first. And if somebody's not in the church or in the circle or whatever it is, then you're better off staying away from that person, because it might threaten your relationship with God. Your relationship with God's built on the finished work of the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's it. If you think it's any more than that, then that's why the coldness is there. That's why the anger is there. That's why the binges are there. The binges of gluttony or lying or buying or different things are there. We've made Jesus in so many ways into a game, into a hobby, into a lifestyle. And that's not what it was all about. Nothing comes before your family. How do I know that? Because I was one of these that thought you could love the Lord your God with all your mind and with all your heart and with all your soul and all the rest of it. And I ended up with nothing. People can only tolerate that for so long. And they go, enough. You become deluded and you become obsessed. You're trying to make God happy or stopping him from being sad. And you think that you're actually being someone great because you're doing that, but you're not. You're really not. You're robbing yourself of the life that you have now. You're allowing your loyalty and your faithfulness to blind you from the life that you're living now. Now, this is a pretty spectacular bit of road here. I'm going to try and, I don't know how I can do this. I'd love to show you this. I don't think I can turn yes, I might be able to. I'm going to show you this as we come down in to